My name is Simran, and this is my science fair project, which face mask is the most viable in social settings. During the pandemic, wearing masks has become a constant in our daily lives. There are many different options for masks, but I wanted to know which one is the best overall. To determine this, I tested different factors, like the breathability, effectiveness, cost, and eco-friendliness of 6 different masks. These were surgical mask, cotton mask, washable polypropylene mask with and without a melt-blown filter, K95 mask, and N95 mask. My hypothesis was that the surgical mask would be the most viable. Variables. So my independent variables were the different face masks that I tested. My dependent variables were the effectiveness in protecting you from COVID, breathability, eco-friendliness, and cost. And I also had many control variables to make sure that my results were accurate. These are my materials. Research. So coronavirus is what is known as an enveloped virus, and it's typically transmitted through respiratory droplets by coughing or sneezing. Sneeze droplets are usually pretty large, around 100 microns, and so most masks can block these out. But cough droplets are much smaller, around 1 micron, and so when your masks are low quality, oftentimes these can pass through. So in the mask I have, there are 2 different kinds, woven and non-woven. Woven is the cotton and other fabric mask, and the problem with woven masks is there's little holes. So in low quality materials, the holes are larger, and so things can pass through. Non-woven is N95, K95, and the filter mask, and these have much fewer gaps and holes. Procedure. The first test I did was an oximeter test to determine the breathability of the masks. I placed my finger inside the oximeter while wearing the mask and then recorded my oxygen levels and my BPM every 10 minutes for 30 minutes. The next test I did was a fire test. I tried blowing out a candle from different distance intervals while wearing a mask. If the mask passed this test, that meant that it was able to protect other people from your coughs and sneezes in the case that you were sick. Then I did a perfume test. Since most aerosols are the same size as cough droplets, I sprayed the perfume and then I tested from both 1 foot and 6 feet to see if I could smell the perfume while wearing each mask. Glow powder test. So the first thing I had to do for this test was build the construct. So I used a fish tank and then I secured a piece of cardboard to the opening. I cut out 2 holes, one for the hairdryer and one for the mask. Then I put a teaspoon of glow powder inside the construct, and then I taped the mask securely to the second hole and turned on the hairdryer for 3 minutes. After 3 minutes was up, I used a UV flashlight to see how much glow powder had escaped through the mask and onto the table. Results and data. So in these 2 tables, you can see the oxygen saturation levels in both me and my mom. The longer we wore each mask, the lower our oxygen levels went, which makes sense because with the extra layers on your face, it gets more difficult to breathe. The lowest our oxygen levels went was with the N95 mask, making it the hardest to breathe in. The easiest to breathe in were the surgical and the washable mask with no filter. This graph shows the BPM test results for me and my mom, me being the top line and my mom being the bottom line. The BPM test results mirrored that of the saturation. The cotton, surgical, and washable mask without the filter performed the best and were the easiest to breathe in. Fire test. So the majority of the masks did well in this test. The only mask that I was able to blow out the candle with was the surgical mask from 4 to 5 inches away. In this table, you can see my perfume test results from 1 foot away. I was able to smell the perfume no matter which mask I was wearing. This means that if you're this close to someone and they're coughing and sneezing, no matter which mask you're wearing, you'll probably be infected. In this table, you can see my results from 6 feet away. In this test, the N95, K95, and washable mask with the filter did the best, and I was barely able to smell the perfume. So here you can see the photos from the glow powder test and all the particles that escaped through the mask and onto the table. And in this chart, you can see the distance of how far the glow powder particles extended onto the table. And in this test, the N95 mask and washable mask with a filter performed the best, and the worst was the surgical mask, where the particles went up to 11 feet onto the table and floor. I also analyzed the cost effectiveness and eco-friendliness of the masks. Conclusion. In the end, I was able to conclude that the washable, waterproof polypropylene mask with a melt-blown filter is the one that is most viable in social settings. For outdoor activities, no filter is needed. And for close contact situations, you can add the filter. It's a very sustainable mask, it's easy to wash and dry, has excellent breathability, and is strongly effective against these particles. Thank you for watching!